lifethroughstrength.com. All right, there's many ways that people can transport themselves. Planes, trains, and automobiles. And of course, by foot. But what happens if somebody can't see? They still use their feet, but they also use something like this. Now, what do you think of when you see this? Jill, what do you think of when you see this?
You're blind.
Oh, that's the first one that comes to your mind. How does this work, Jill? You know how the stick works?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but I'm going to show you anyway. So, of course, I wasn't born totally blind. I went blind when I was a little older, about 11 years old. And they introduced me to this, the white cane. This cane is supposed to help blind people get around. But at 11 years old, I didn't want to be seen with this cane. So instead, I used my father's fishing pole. So I'm going to the store with my father's fishing pole, kind of like this, and it probably looks even weirder than the cane does. But eventually, I got over it and started using this. What are the advantages of using this? Well, this is one of the elements in how a blind person finds out how to get around. Because if I wanted my cheeseburger and to wash it down with vodka, I'd have to know how to get to the kitchen. So, how you use the cane, you hold the cane out in front of you, this so you don't crash into anything. This is supposed to tell you what you get to before you actually get there. So if I was doing this, oh, what's that? Not a bar, is it? All right, so I know this before I get to it so I don't go crashing through the window. Okay, and this also helps blind people stay centered in the street. You move the cane like this, kind of like side to side, and that way you don't swerve too much and then fall off and get hit by a bus. That wouldn't feel too good. Ouch. But the cane is not the only tool that blind people use to get around. Blind people also use tools that all of us have. They just pay a little bit more attention to it, even though we all have the same abilities. One of those abilities is hearing. Now, we all can hear, but many of us pay attention to the sight over hearing. But when a blind person is traveling, their ears become their eyes. Ah, can you wink your ear? Okay. So, you can try, right? So, walking along, and you have your stick out, and you're listening to everything around you. You hear the noise, the traffic. You hear the wind. You hear people walking in front of you. And when someone's standing in front of you, you know it, even though you can't see them, because everyone's always making some kind of a noise. You can also hear the wind and the sound bounce off the building line. So you can actually tell when you're at the corner, because you can hear the openness in the air and the lack of a building next to you, the sound barrier. We all can do this. Musicians have excellent ears, and many of them are sighted, so we all can do this. It just takes some concentration. The other way that blind people get around is using, of course, their sense of smell, although that's a little bit overrated. A little bit overrated, right? You know? But we also use our feet. What's under our feet? Hopefully the ground. Blind people can feel what's under them. We all can, but got to pay more attention to it when you can't see. So I can tell just by walking along the texture of this sidewalk, the texture of the floor that I'm walking on, whether it's a carpet or whether it's a linoleum, or outside in the street, whether it's a smooth pavement or whether it's got cracks, inclines and declines. All these different information is coming into me, and I can prepare landmarks as I move along the world as a blind person. Ooh, what's that? So there's several different ways. There's all these different tools on how blind people get around. And the cane is one of the chief things that blind people use to get around. And on the bottom of the cane, there's different kinds of tips. I happen to have a fat mushroom tip. All right. So, this one doesn't roll, but they actually have rolling fat mushroom tips. And that helps get over the cracks in the ground and so forth. So just remember that we all have the ability to move around without sight. And this Cain is able.